So, once again, thank you, so much for all this.
Yeah.
Okay, firstly, could you kind of, I know you've already spoken out against vouchers, could you kind of deconstruct your position, if you will?
Sure.
What about them is repulsive to you? Not repulsive, but you know what I mean.
Okay. So, I will say I am pro-choice for parents to educate their kids however they want. So, I know myself, we've looked at private schools, charter schools, that kind of thing. I know kids have a multitude of ways to learn, and some excel in other ways than just public school. So I'm always about the choice of the parent and the kids to get whatever kind of learning and education that they want. It's the funding mechanism that bothers me. So obviously, public school, they are the majority of our kids. We have over 5 million kids that are in public school. Not all of them have the opportunities to homeschool or to have a charter school or to go to a private school, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's just opportunity, whether it's location. Because, obviously out in West Texas, you've got, mass amounts of space between. So they only have the opportunity to have public school. And that is because it is the majority of our kids' education option. Why are we not making it the best option, right? So this voucher emergency that they're trying to push right now, that's not the emergency. The emergency is our public schools, because our teachers are leaving because they can't get raises. Campuses are closing. Now, granted, a lot of campuses probably in some locations, like even Keller, we're grown out. So it's not that we're a big growth district anymore. So inevitably, yes, there are campuses that will have to be shut down at some point, and that is all across. But there are definitely a lot of these districts that are they're unable to keep their doors open because they don't have the funds.
I see.
And or they're having to cut programs because they don't have the funds. And especially, one of the biggest things over the past 3 years, we're trying to have this balanced budget for Keller ISD, but at the same time, we're on this little wavering back and forth of a deficit, and then above, it's my biggest thing is we don't want to, yeah. So, my biggest thing is I absolutely do not want programs to be cut. That's why we're here. That's why I moved my family half my family wasn't even alive yet when we moved here, but we moved here for what Keller has to offer, and that is the amazing programs. And, to cut those would be devastating to our kids. Even the fine arts, the way it's had to be restructured. I'm not a big fan of it because, I am a media arts person. The arts is what I do. And so I understand the importance of art and the fact that, using whether it's music or art or theater to activate different parts of the brain. That you've got to activate all parts of your brain to have.
With what you were talking about, that with exercise.
Yes,
and stuff.
Exactly. Yes, so and I was actually on the phone yesterday with David Lowe's director, just once again reiterating, look, I understand that y'all think that this voucher is the most important, but it's not. Our emergency is our public ed, and we've got to get them funded. And, the fact that they were saying the lottery goes to public ed was well, where's that money? I'm not seeing it come into our coffers.
And on the lottery, they usually do with those lotteries is they will say, all the funds from this go to public education, and then they take all the other funding out from public education.
Exactly.
Sorry. Okay. What did we put next that we were going to talk to? 1 second. Yes. Okay. Sorry. We made a plan this time, and I forgot what it was. So, when you talk about so whenever I talked to you about book bannings last time, well, firstly you said that you can read those, you can still get those books outside of school, right? But so if any part of this is not what you said, because you said that you've been misquoted a lot, so I just kind of want to make sure that
again today, Texas Tribune put out a hit piece that definitely misquoted me from a long time ago, and they even said that they've reached out to me without comment. No, I've looked at everything. They have not reached out to me, and they used something from 3 years ago. Yeah, so I'm like, all right, my priorities have changed. We're over that, so let's move on. Yeah, so. But what is the question? So.
Okay, so you said that how the inappropriate books get in libraries is so a publisher will change a book that might be rated adult to young adult because
right.
young adults read a bunch.
Uh-huh.
A librarian will then buy maybe an award-winning set, like a bulk genre set.
Correct.
With those books in it, and then unbeknownst to the librarian, those books get in there.
Correct.
Okay. And as for criteria, I think you said if you were to read that book aloud in a classroom, and if you could get arrested for inappropriateness by reading that out loud, that is not okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. That's where I'm going with, why are these things in our classrooms if I can't read it to you without being possibly, either fined or arrested for being inappropriate with a child, then why are they in our libraries? They don't,
Have there been any cases of somebody like reading those books out loud and then getting arrested?
Not that I'm aware of. But, like I said, the fact that even whenever all of this was going on 3 years ago and they're showing some of the books on TV, they had to blur them out. They couldn't even show or read the comments. And there have been parents that were thrown out by security and or police in board meetings across the country. For reading them out loud and showing them and saying that they're inappropriate. In fact, I believe it was Ruthie Keys in one of the board meetings in October 21. There were a bunch of parents, there were probably 200-something parents, I think, that showed up that night, and they were trying to read it out loud, and she said that they needed to stop because there were children present in the room.
Right. I see. Was Ruthie Keys still on the board whenever that woman came with that one sign that was like second grade, like arithmetic and blowjobs?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was the president.
Okay. Got it. Let me write that down on my hand because I started writing, now I have to finish. I'm crazy. Okay. So we read your Alliance ISD interview, which, by the way, again, thank you for responding to those kinds of things and talking to people.
Sure.
As I'm sure you saw me complaining about online, Nikki Paris blocked my phone number, which it's nice to be able to get through to somebody. So thank you. Appreciate you for that.
You're welcome.
So what is your stance on political action committees, especially in reference to really local elections?
So there are, I'll kind of explain how it starts. So when someone files for an office, it doesn't matter what office it is, we are inundated with questionnaires from groups from all over, wanting to know what our points of view are, things like that. Sometimes they rate us based on our answer. They kind of do this, kind of like the books. There's a rubric, I guess, that however you answer, they will list you as more conservative or more liberal leaning, however it is that they're doing it. A lot of times from that, there are political action committees or groups or clubs or things like that, whether it's Democratic, National Democrats Club or the National Republicans Club or the Fort Worth Democrats or whatever. They obviously, their goal, it doesn't matter what political side they're on, their goal is to get whomever leans in their direction elected. So it's not that we necessarily have control over it because, there's lot of people that can support us that we don't even know, just because maybe they saw something that we, like a questionnaire that we filled out, or something that I said on the dais, or just an interview. It doesn't really matter how somebody would end up supporting us in some form or fashion. So, and it's not just Republicans or Democrats. It's all candidates and all, even independents. I mean, there's even, and then there's even like apps for door knocking that they can go and look at your profile, and they can choose not to even let you pay for their app to use, because you may not have their values in some form or fashion. So, because I know there are some that have turned us down because we're anti-voucher. So, they may be very conservative, but they're also anti-voucher. So, obviously they have their purpose, which is to get the people out and vote. So whichever side you're on, I mean, obviously that's what you want, right? Is to get people out to use their voice and vote.
I think last year's registered turnout was 11%?
Yeah.
That's pathetic.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when you say that you can't control a PAC, do you mean like an endorsement, or if they donated to you, you couldn't
Well, usually they don't donate. Like, I've never received funding from a PAC. I've had many endorsements, but I've never received funding.
Okay.
So they can put out flyers, they can put out mailers, they can do whatever on their own.
So what's your view of PACs, especially the larger ones that have played in the Since if you're... When you say that you've never received funding, is that because none of them have approached you, or is that because you're if they come to me, I say no, I'm totally homegrown? What's your...
Well, I'm definitely homegrown. I mean, that's all I want. I'm only supporting and only working for my constituents who are in my community. So, but obviously, with Patriot Mobile, right? And I think I talked with you about this. So they kind of modeled, I think, I read an article where they modeled after a Democratic-leaning, a more liberal-leaning phone company out in California. So this California company, I can't remember what the company was called, but I want to say it was a phone company out in California. I'll have to find that article. Maybe I can find it and send it to you. But it was something to the effect of they use their money and their presence, I guess, to put out mailers to try to get their candidates that they supported to win, in terms of they followed their same values, things that they wanted.
Got it.
And from what this article said, that's kind of what Patriot Mobile was like, well, we can do the same thing. And so they did. So obviously they found the candidates through, interviews, all of these little candidate forms that we fill out, and we're like, okay, these are the ones that we think have the same values, and so we're going to try to get them elected. So they're putting out flyers and mailers to support all of these candidates. So I mean, without any of them, I don't know how many people would kind of get out and vote, but at the same time, how many people actually look at the flyers? I know for myself, I throw them all in the recycle bin because you never know if they're truth or not. And so, I mean, the fact that they're just out there and trying to get people to vote, I think is important, because we need people to get out and vote. So, if a voter has the same sort of values, I guess, as a company, which that's kind of kind of interesting concept. But whether it's an organization or even sometimes it's just just a husband and wife that are out there that have a lot of pull because of who they are and their stature in the community, and that a lot of people trust them, and so they put out little cards. So I mean,
So you mentioned Patriot Mobile in
Yeah.
response. That definitely seems to be kind of like, I mean, I feel like at this point in the election debate, PAC and Patriot Mobile are almost synonymous.
Yeah.
So what's kind of your stance on Patriot Mobile, and have you received like substantial support from? No. You haven't.
I mean, I honestly, I didn't even know what Patriot Mobile was until my first campaign. And so, I mean, obviously, that first campaign was very naive to all the different things that are out there. Like, I wasn't aware of all the PACs or support or the clubs or organizations that are out there that support people. I mean, like I said, whenever, my inbox was just full of all of these questionnaires, I'm like, what in the world? Where did all these people come from? And even still, like I have like 3 more, I think, that I have to fill out when I get home from other organizations. So, but, do they call me, talk to me? No.
Okay. They don't talk to you at all.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So you don't like really work with them. They don't work with you.
No.
Okay.
No.
So we actually do need to talk about that because there's pictures of you on. I guess something for you to explain here. So there's pictures of you on election night on the 22nd. You're at the chief communication officer of Patriot Mobile. You're at her house along
No,
with.
it was not. It was Micah Young's house
I see.
in Keller
Okay.
at a party we paid for with our own money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was stolen from my website or from my Facebook page.
Okay.
And that all of that was a lie. And yes, I did have my picture made with 2 of the Patriot Mobile people. They came in for 5 minutes, pretty much got some pictures and left.
Okay. Because in that post, Leigh does say, great work, everybody. Congratulations to all you guys. I mean, she's obviously voicing support for you and your fellow board members that got elected.
Right.
So, but I mean, they didn't help you. You're not saying like they didn't really help you that much whenever you were trying to get elected.
Other than what they did with their flyers and things like that. Like, personally, were they, like, calling me and telling me things? No.
Okay.
Like, no contact. No.
Okay, I see. Okay.
And they supported board candidates across DFW. So they were putting out flyers and things like that. So, but no. No, there was no, like, telling me what to say, telling me what to do, contact, no.
Got it. Okay. So last time we talked to you, we tried to get you to say something as in, like, what separates you from Jade Holbrook and Jennifer Erickson? With Jennifer Erickson, you said that you didn't really know her all that well. Now, do you have any kind of like have you looked at her like Alliance ISD response?
Well, I know.
Stuff?
Actually, I haven't read all of her responses. I haven't had it. I feel like I have a dumpster fire that I'm taking care of every day, so I have not had a chance to even read any of their responses. So, other than her coming to board meetings, I know that she definitely supports any kind of literature in the schools, that she's for gender ideology. She is for...
Sorry, just to clarify, are we talking about Holbrook or Erickson?
Erickson, yes. I know that her daughter is against the styrofoam plates in the cafeteria, which I actually went to the school district to be like, why are we using styrofoam? This is obviously an expense that we're having, but a lot of it is staffing to have the people clean the lunch trays. I feel like she's definitely the opposite of me.
Oh, okay.
That's just to put it out there. She's the opposite of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Let me look through my notes app because I put down other questions and I forgot
As
what they
for
were.
Holbrook, I don't know anything about her, other than she had a baby like 5 weeks ago, is an attorney. She has a 4-year-old, I think. She's only lived in Keller, I think, for a year and a half. And so I think, obviously what sets me apart, obviously I've been on the board now for the past 3 years. I was definitely, involved with my kids' schools and on the PTA board since they started kindergarten. I've been supporting and advocating for teachers and for students and for parents all these years. And definitely, on the board, I've worked really hard in advocating for the teachers that maybe are having difficulty on one campus, to ensure that maybe they're moved somewhere else, or the principal maybe is moved somewhere else, in terms of just trying to create a better atmosphere for the teachers. I know one teacher was having a lot of difficulties on one campus, and I just kept advocating for her. She was moved to a different campus where she is now thriving, one teacher of the year, being rewarded and valued on her campus now. And because she was literally wanting to leave the profession altogether. She was so frustrated. So, that to me is something that I really take to heart is, I got into this for the teachers because I was seeing a lot of the things that were being done in terms of lack of support or lack of being valued. And that is, if you don't have happy teachers, you don't have happy students. And so I want to make sure that we keep and value and retain the teachers that we have that are so incredible, because, that's who's teaching you guys. That's who's teaching my own kids. And if we are getting bottom of the barrel teachers come in just because they need a job, that's not going to work. I want to keep the ones that are, they came into education because it's their passion. They care about the kids. They love the kids. They have, a passion for teaching, and that's what I want. That's who I want teaching my kids, and that's who I want to keep in our district, because that's what's going to make us excellent. And so, that obviously student safety has been incredibly important. I know that it was very controversial in the, guardian plan, which is not what we're doing. We actually have hired armed security that are trained by police and by, or former special ops or military or police or whatever. So they're not teachers walking around with guns on their heads. There's actual armed professionals that are keeping you guys safe and are, the first line of defense basically on your campuses. And having a child at Fossil Ridge that literally on the first day of school, there was as a freshman walking, I dropped him off, and then there was a gun threat. I was just like, this is not gonna fly. We can't have this. So obviously that's something that I know that Jennifer Erickson was against.
The Guardian policy? Yeah. Okay. So, one last thing. So, was this whole... two things, actually. Sorry. Was this, split thing, was this the first time that you had decided... Was this the first time that you had qualms against something that Radcliffe had tried to push through the board? Because beforehand, pretty much everything was unanimous. Mm-hmm. I don't think any motion actually was ever shot down.
No.
So is this the first time that you've kind of been like, hey, this isn't okay, or have you had qualms before?
Well, I know, the qualms, there have been a couple of things, just in terms of maybe how it was done. Like, I know for the book policy, not in terms of I didn't want it to happen. I felt that we needed that because of the consistent amount of things that were being found in the library. So I was like, oh, this is not good. But
Wait, are you talking about the phone policy or the book?
No, the books. Okay. So like back in the books. So I actually had created a my own type of it could be turned into an app, honestly, but it was kind of like a way for teachers to insert information. So it would have a pull down menu that gave like, is it a historical thing? So for instance, like, let's say smoking. Because I know smoking was like one of the things on there if it has smoking. So it's like, okay, is this a historical book? Yes. So we're talking, 1800s, 1900s, even, 60s, 70s when everyone was smoking, right? So if we were to disqualify smoking, then good Lord, every single book half the books would be out of the library that are past 2000, right? Yeah. So, does it glorify smoking, or is it just a historical accuracy, that kind of thing? So they would be able to like click on various things, like even with kissing, right? Like, is it a familial kiss? Is it a romantic kiss? Is it a forced kiss? Like just kind of showing different things, so that way they could say, no, this is, just a normal kiss or whatever. Because then if it, like, maybe it was a forced kiss, like, okay, is it describing a rape or something to that effect, right? So anyway, it was going to be, the way I had it, it was incredibly detailed to kind of create this automatic rating system, just like movies. So, you have a G for general audiences, so all kids can look at it. You have PG, PG-13, rated R, and X. So basically, it was allowed that kind of process. So what we have now is so not even close to that. That has frustrated me because I feel like it's too much interpretation and it confuses the teachers and the librarians. Like, okay, what do you want here? Whereas this would have taken out a lot of that questioning and made it so much easier for them to be able to just, this goes into high school, this goes to middle school, this goes to elementary schools only, right? I know with the Guardian program, when we brought that, obviously we knew that we needed some sort of security and safety for our kids on campuses, but I did have a lot of reservations in terms of having teachers, because not only did the teachers feel scared, parents felt scared, and I felt like if there was an armed teacher, would there be accidents? Could there be, they wouldn't be able to maybe hug their kids, especially if they're on younger, slower campuses, because of having it on their body or whatever. I mean, there was just a lot of questions that I had that I was a little bit concerned on having just the Guardian program. Mm-hmm. So I was really big on trying to get the armed security that were professionals. And so, but still, I mean, that's something that we voted on, was to have the armed professionals. So it wasn't necessarily, maybe there was a lot of maybe argument beforehand in terms of how we got to where we got. But then once we got to voting, we're all on the same page. But correct, the split was definitely...
So you'd say for the most part you agree with the decision?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we've been talking, you brought up both. You said that you kind of maligned Erickson because she is a proponent of gender ideology, and then you've also said that you're trying to support. Happy teachers make great teachers, right? Right. So you helped pass the I don't know what the actual name is, but it's colloquially called the dead name policy, in which you have to, teachers must refer to their students by their birth certificate name, have to use the pronouns of sex that were assigned at birth. So when we're talking about happy teachers and we're talking about gender ideology, it's going to be, or have you kind of seen how a lot of teachers kind of chafe under
Well,
that?
I'll tell you why that I was in support of that. So, there are a lot of teachers and teachers across the country that have been sued and lost their jobs because they did not, whether it's religious beliefs or because of their whatever reason, they were told to use a name by the student that did not fit with what maybe the parent was obviously named them. Especially like out in California, there were teachers. I mean, there were teachers in California who were even like found to be pressuring the students to like change their gender. Yeah.
What are the examples?
So I would have to find the article, and I'll be more than happy to send it to you. But there's a family that was out in California who the mom found out that their child was going through gender modification and didn't even know it.
Sorry, wait. Gender modification?
Like
didn't even know it.
through like they were wanting to transition, and they were starting to do that. Yeah.
Is that like? Are you saying like without the parent knowing, or was
Correct,
it?
without the parent knowing.
Okay.
But then vice versa, there have been teachers across the country who have been fired. Some have sued, some have gotten their jobs back, some have not, that chose not to use the name because the parents didn't know, or maybe it was against their religion. So this was more a protection of the teachers, because we had a lot of teachers who were uncomfortable and felt that they would get sued as well or lose their jobs. So that's why it says that if the parent agrees, and this is how they're registered, and this is what shows up on their birth certificate or whatever, then they can use that name. But if some kid were to come to the teacher and say, well, I'm now this name, but the parent doesn't know, because I know we've had parents not know that their child was being called that, and that was totally upsetting to them. Like, please do not, for whatever reason, do not call my child this. So not only was it protecting the parents, but it was protecting the teachers. It's protecting the parents in that they're known, that like they know what's happening to their child, because like I told you on the phone, when you become a parent, if you become a parent, you're going to want to know what's happening with your kid. And if something goes against how you feel you're trying to raise your child, then you have every right to be upset. And so when it comes to this particular policy, it is just ensuring that the teachers are protected if they don't call them by a name that they're not given permission by the parent, and or the parent knows that their child is wanting to be called something else. Does that make sense?
Okay, so
it's not necessarily trying to hate
tell,
on kids.
So if the parents tell a teacher, hey, you have my consent to call my kid whatever, they can do that.
Yes.
Okay. So I haven't seen that happen at all. Okay, got it. So, yeah, I mean, feel free to send us examples of those scenes and stuff, because that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you want to ask? Okay. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask us?
So what are you reporting to? Tell me about your club.
So
I wish it was a club.
we
No
are
teacher is going to support what we're doing.
both members of two organizations. So we're both involved in each. We're each kind of more representatives of the two respective ones. But I am a member of Sunrise Tarrant Schools.
Oh, so you spoke at the meeting?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yes. And he works with Keller Student Activism Organization. And so what we're doing with this information is we're putting out kind of it's a Canvas presentation of various candidates' stances on things like vouchers, things like book bannings. What else do we have on there? Fiscal solutions.
PAC affiliation.
Yeah.
Prior experience, which is for you and Chelsea, it's super
you're
easy.
set.
So thank you.
But yeah, so we're putting out a Canvas presentation with that information, and then we're making endorsements for our respective organizations, and we say this is who we, as the students in these organizations, would like you to vote for.
So you're a PAC.
Yes, a little bit.
A little bit. We're not big flyers for donations, and the biggest thing too is that we also live and reside inside of the Keller area.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, makes us different from something like Patriot Mobile, which is.
Well, they live in South Lake, so they're close.
Yeah.
But also they're all supporting board elections that are outside their
I don't think they're
area.
even doing boards this year.
I see.
No. I think they just, that particular year, they chose school boards. I think last year, I don't even know what they did last year. If they supported anybody, or like municipals, maybe. I don't know. Maybe Tim O'Hare. I can't remember if he was up for election last year. I can't remember, but yeah.
I feel like I remember seeing
Yeah.
a road sign or something.
But yeah, we're both working with various activist organizations,
Yeah.
so we're just trying to learn as much as we can
Yes.
about the candidates, speak to them in person,
So
see
yeah,
what they
those
have
are
to say.
exactly what
Yeah.
what facts are. Yeah.
And also we're trying to maybe if I can figure out how the heck to set up a YouTube channel, which I'm like 16, I'm supposed to know how this stuff works.
Yeah.
But upload the audio files up there so people in the district could watch and listen to the whole thing. Especially since, like, I don't know, sometimes it can be really hard for people to reach candidates. So this is kind of, we're lucky because we're students, and ignoring students if you're trying to go on a school board is
Not good for you.
it's a really bad precedent to set. So we're able to secure interviews that other people might not be able to, which again,
Right.
thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And
I think our big thing is just getting the information out there to the people that need it, and especially with things like the interviews where that doesn't have our bias put on it at all, just so people can see what the candidates have to say.
Yeah. And also, someone unrelated, thank you so much for having a website. Do you know how hard it is to get information on people that don't have websites? I have, like...
I spent like 30 minutes trying to find Phil Perez this morning, and it was
Oh,
impossible.
he lives right over here. Maybe you can knock on his door.
Yeah, we were about to do that with somebody, actually. Yeah, so that's all we've got. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome.
Thank you for meeting with us.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Absolutely.
Twice.
Yeah. That should go well, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes. The more communication, the more transparency it proves you have.
No,
so.
that's-
If you can
all
do it
about-
here, you can do it up there. That's kind of the
Yes.
message.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You didn't even block our phone number.
I sure didn't. I texted you right back.
Look at this. She's amazing. Well, thank you so much.
You're
That's all we got for
welcome.
now.
No problem.
Appreciate you. I'm
That's
going
good.
to go ahead.
All right. Thank you.